We're going to copy these marks onto the wood that's taped underneath so that we can get the exact alignment for the wing placement on the fuselage and then these controlled brakes for the polyhedral bend. So I'm going to place little marks on the edge of the wood. And if I have tape right there, I'll just pull it back and put the marks definitely where I can see them. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to take the tape or the paper off. Making sure that I've got that mark. Another way to do it is just to poke your pen down in there and create a little hole. That's been successful in the past as well. Okay, now I'm going to copy those marks from either the hole that I punched in or from the line I was able to make and draw them using a ruler across the wood. All right, so now that I have that, I need to actually create like a dent in the wood by scoring it. So I use a pen, and what I'm doing is I am pushing down very hard with that pen. Each time I do this, I want to make sure that I'm going completely from end to end. Sometimes it'll tear out if you don't get either end scored deep enough. Okay, not sure if it's picking up on camera or not, but what you'll notice is that this is now grooved. You can also do this with the back side of a pair of scissors and score this way. The front side sometimes cuts it a little too deep. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place a ruler flat on here and put some heavy pressure on there, and then bend up the long side until I hear a slight crack. I'm going to repeat that process over here. And one more time. It actually helps to use the longest side possible, but I'm still going to go this way. Okay, so what we have is 3 controlled brakes. It hasn't broken all the way through, but you can see that a lot of those fibers of the wood have been ripped or broken. I'm then going to place a bead of glue. Helps to open it first. In each of these. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. Okay. You can use a tissue or scrap piece of paper if you want to do this. I'm just going to use my finger. Maybe your teacher will supply a paintbrush. And what this does is it will serve to make sure that this bend does not move after the glue is dried. Okay. Less glue is actually better than more. And I've never actually put glue on the backside, but it might help strengthen it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to take that piece of paper that we've been holding on to that has no wood, and I am going to line up each of the bends with that. So I am working to get these bends symmetric, like a mirror image to each other, and bent along those lines. It helps if you hold this while the glue dries. It could take up to 2 minutes, so get comfortable, make sure that you're not lifting this up in the air, and then just hold it. And sometimes if you blow a little bit, the glue will dry faster. Okay, it looks like it's holding still right now. So I'm going to set this off to the side and I'll check it again in a moment. Normally you would just hold that. So this is a polyhedral wing design. I've got the dihedral bend here, and then poly meaning more than one, I have two more. Some of you might only have a dihedral, di meaning two, in which case you only have that one bend in the center. If that's the case, then you'll only do the first score mark and you'll only make the one break in the center. Okay. I'm going to come back and check that before I move on. It's best just to hold it until the glue dries. If this is not perfectly symmetric, then your glider will have some offset roll. It won't come back either if it starts to roll in one direction or the other. That's why you want to hold it in place. Okay, but moving on for the sake of the video, I'm now going to work with the horizontal stabilizer. So once again, I'm going to poke two holes because I taped exactly where I should be marking it with a pen. So poking the holes works as well. I'm then going to remove this. And it's always helpful to remember the direction of the arrow as well. So I'm going to put a little arrow mark right there. That way I don't end up gluing it on backwards. Okay, and same as before, I'm going to take my ruler, line it up between those two holes that I poked in, and then draw that line. Now, since I've already marked the position of the tail and the position of the wing, I can remove this as well. Obviously the tail goes in the back, but I have seen students accidentally put the fuselage on backwards. So if you need to, you can draw a directional arrow for this as well. Okay, so definitely this is the front of our plane. There's my little arrow. All right, so I want to glue this on here. I'm going to once again try to use as little glue as possible. Again, you can use tissue paper if you don't want to get the glue on your fingers. Maybe your teacher has a paintbrush. Okay, I'm going to set this on top of there. Just make sure everything is in contact, and once again that we have symmetry. We want to make sure that this is lined up right in the middle. And I'm going to set this down for just one quick moment. I'm now going to take the vertical stabilizer, remove the paper. There's really nothing to draw on this. And here's the tricky part, trying to glue this little edge onto there. I'm going to try to put the glue directly on the edge of the stabilizer. And then place this on the very back of the horizontal stabilizer. Now this is not going to stay on its own. You can tell everything's just wiggling around. So what we're going to do is we're going to place some pins that go on either side of that vertical stabilizer. Right now, I'm going to pause. I'm going to get that pin in here. I don't want my finger directly underneath where I'm poking that pin in case I miss. So that pin is going into the horizontal stabilizer, into the fuselage. I'm going to make sure I have plenty of glue on this. And then I'm going to pin on the other side as well. So I'm not actually pinning into the vertical stabilizer. I'm basically putting pins on either side of it. force it to stay in position. Then I'm just going to move the pins around until everything looks perfect. Okay, so as we look at this, we have everything lined up. We can, if those pins are in good, we can use the pins to sort of adjust everything and wait for that glue to dry. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now that I come back and check on this, once again using my polyhedral angle, it's not perfect, so this would not fly perfect. Reason being is that I let go of it and continued on with the video. But assuming that I held that for about 2 minutes, the glue would have set up quite nicely and everything would have been good. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and attach this. This is the front. If you remember from here, I had an arrow that pointed forward, so I'm just going to keep in mind that I don't want to glue the wing on backwards. I'm going to line it up with the marks that I made in the previous video. Run a bead of glue on this. And then once again use pins after I've got it lined up. Okay, so everything's lined up nice. I've got a glider that's got about 6 pins in it, and I can set that to dry for at least an hour or two, and then it'll be ready to do some final sanding and fly.